Hello, everyone. You're listening to a Coffees with Toffees podcast. I will be your host, Flub, and this is the Flupdate. So, we got a pretty good show for you tonight, like always. I have a lot of things I want to talk about. We got to talk about the hubs. There's a new Moonduck hub coming up, and it's been going on all week, and I'd like to kind of let you guys know about that. There's also the Kiev Qualifiers. There's a lot that's happened there, a lot that I could talk about. I'm going to shorten it up so that you guys just get the highlights of it from this point. And there's some bugs and things that I found interesting this week that I wanted to share with you guys. Hopefully that maybe you can take advantage of. Maybe you guys, hopefully that if you see it, you can maybe work around it so that you're not getting more taken advantage of in the future on your games. And as always, I'm going to have the flub question of the week. So I'm pretty excited this week. Let's get started. We got first off the two different major hubs. So Moonduck kind of came out with this video it's actually basically a week ago. It was almost right after the last Flupdate, and they said, "Hey, we are going to start our own hub for this major," and it wasn't in mean spirit. It wasn't because they didn't get like enough people on their side or anything like that. They basically just they felt like they could do it and that it would be really fun to try. So I'm so the results have been very, very successful, and I've really enjoyed it because personally, obviously, Moonduck and all of its general employees have a certain Moonduck feel to them and have that silliness quality in them, not only with Slacks and Suns fan and kind of the jabbings at Purge with his seriousness, but he still is kind of like a funny component because of how much they can goat him and things like that. So even like the serious side of Moonduck also is a very funny side of Moonduck. So it's kind of funny to have like this funny side and a serious analytical side. And it's kind of a really good, enjoyable idea that I feel like I, if they could have done it sooner, I would have enjoyed it much more because personally, some days I don't want to have the funny comedy side. I'd rather watch a comedy and I'd rather watch an action or analytical side of it and kind of break it down pace by pace. And BTS is trying to do a little bit of silly stuff still, and that's the thing that still kind of makes me curve the idea of really enjoying this because I think that they should stick to that more analytical side. I really enjoy Merlini and like I mean Toby one isn't like a guy that like knows a bunch about Dota. I mean he's been in the inception of it, but for a like player analytical side, he's more of a fun caster to listen to. They just have these really good hype men and then really good analysts, whereas Moonduck is more relaxed and has a better feel to it through the normal comic meming style. And it's been very fun already. There's actually a moment where Slacks was muted for his entire monologue. He was doing this whole monologue, and he didn't even realize he was muted for like most of it, pretty much. I don't. There was like a little bit that was unmuted, but it was really really funny. Watch that on YouTube if you are interested. Really great. So I'm very excited for what that can hold in the future because they've already been so successful, and hopefully maybe in TI you'll have like a funny screening and a serious screening. So then we got the Kiev Major and the Kiev Major's qualifiers that are going on currently all this week. There's been a lot that's happened. Obviously, there's the general Kiev Major startup where anyone can join. We've watched all the playthroughs from that. We also got the group stage that kind of muscled out some of the higher ranking teams that kind of went through the dust at that point. And we have a lot of just general playing for it's not main event, but it's the main qualifiers, if you want to give that a name, the main qualifier section. And there's been a lot of games the past couple days, and they've kind of found the niche where it's happening. It's kind of ending up today and tomorrow, and possibly a little bit on Tuesday too. So there's been there's the only real team that has actually gone and ended and is truly qualified now is on the C on the Southeast Asia circuit. They actually had Team Faceless went through the whole thing, got victory, and they are one of the qualified teams because there's two qualified teams for Southeast Asia and China. So Faceless was able to win through it, and they are one of the only teams that have already been qualified now. The second spot is going to maybe Clutch Gamers or TNC, who are in the loser bracket right now, with Mineski as the one that has a leg up on them. They are in the Mineski is in the finals, and Clutch Gamers and TNC are in the semifinals for the losers bracket. And then we have on the North American side, we got NP versus Complexity in the winners final. So they will go to the grand finals, whoever wins there. And that's currently going on right now, so I couldn't really talk about it too much. And then we have the Team Freedom and Team Onyx in the loser semifinals. And then whoever wins in the finals will obviously go down. Or whoever loses in the finals will obviously go down to the loser finals. And then they'll play whoever team goes there, so on and so forth. So that's how the rest of this is going to go. I'm going to kind of give you guys a quick overview. So the South American scene, Not Today versus SG Sports Esports are in the winners finals, and Midas Club Elite and the infamous losers. I'm sorry, versus infamous, not infamous losers, are in the loser semifinals. We also have had Toffees. Obviously, everyone loves Toffees. That's why you are here, and hopefully you have gained appreciation for me as well. But Toffees is also teamed up with Gorgon, and he's been doing a lot of the South American casting scene. So he's also had a little bit of his hub going on, and you can watch stuff on our YouTube channel. But I'll talk more about that later. But if you're interested to hear Toffee's casting once again, he's doing it with his great pal Gorgon, and it's been a lot of fun. So I've been watching that scene very, very closely. There's also the Europe scene, and they have Team Secret is in the grand finals already. So they have not actually gotten qualified yet, but they are basically at the point where if they win in the grand finals, then they will be, because they only have one. And then we have Ninjas in Pajamas versus Bears in the semi losers finals, and then we have Alliance in the loser finals. We also have the CIS side. The CIS side is going to have Vitus.Pro in the grand finals. We have Team Navi and Team Spirit in the loser finals, semifinals, and then we have Team Empire in the loser finals. In China, we actually have not had any of the playoffs yet, but what is going to be in the future, we're going to have IG versus Vici Gaming, and we're going to have CDEC versus IG Vitality. So it's been a lot of games all over the place. Wherever style that you want to listen to or play is casted in most languages. It's been a lot of fun watching them all. The game that I found the most standout, the best game that I've seen so far, is TNC versus Faceless Game 1. Great series, really, really fun. I highly suggest you watch that one without going into the whole Dota digest and watching it, on highlights. I actually would encourage you guys to watch that game, if not that series. The series is pretty good. The game one is just a fantastic game, and I just really enjoyed it, and I think everyone else really would too. So that's kind of a wrap up of what has happened in the qualifiers, kind of something so that you guys can understand where everything's been going throughout this week. If you guys haven't been caught up, obviously with midterms and stuff coming up. So that's kind of what's been happening, and you guys can get that information. I'll get more information on that next week on like who actually won for those of you who cannot watch the games in the next couple days. We are also going to talk about, now we're going to talk about the bugs and the things of note that I have been finding lately. It's been a lot of fun. Generally, whenever I find some stuff, I will try to put it to memory. When I get enough of them, I'll try to tell you guys about them. Something that I recently figured out, I love Razor. I think that I understand that why he's not picked right now for a lot of good reasons with items and things like that. But if you use him correctly in the right scenarios, he's kind of been my secret pick to kind of destroy certain pub games. There's actually been the games where people random him too, obviously when I'm playing with friends, and I pick him up and I pick first for someone else, and then I'll take him mid. and I really enjoy him. A lot of times, a lot of people don't really see his potential, and I gotta say that he's actually got a lot of potential right now, especially with trying to force people out of like not last hitting, where that's so important right now in mid lane, especially versus good invokers. It's like it's very hard to actually have anything have the impact that you want versus an Invoker on a lot of other heroes, and I feel like Razor's been in a really strong position because Invoker's so slow right now. So what I've been doing is I've been picking up Windlace and then going with a branch and the pieces for a Wraith Band. And what I mean by pieces of the Wraith Band is I get both pieces and I don't buy the recipe. Just so that I have then the potential to last hit, whether am able to really steal enough damage or not. Because if they do put a support mid versus you, then you're going to be stealing most of the damage from the support if you can, and then he's going to be trying to harass you, and you're not always guaranteed the stealing damage, but then you're guaranteeing two people moving away. And the thing is Razor, while does need farm, you don't have to guarantee it for him, which is great. There's a polite balance between the character and how he kind of denies the other core as much as gaining himself. So I've done that and that's been really a lot of fun. But the thing is that Ags does not work on shrines. It's been a incredibly annoying experience. I love Ags on Razor. I've been really enjoying it whenever I did it in the past. There's a certain balance to when you want to see that in the game, and people would always say, just grab Deso, and I was like, well, there's actually a lot of advantages to grabbing Ags. It just doesn't provide just straight damage. I wanted something to give me tankiness too, and it also has like a that nice being able to deal damage and not have people blink, and you can kind of use that against people in certain scenarios. It's really nice. The thing is, though, is it not working on shrines is just crazy hard in 7.0 now, and I can see why people are not picking it up. So it's a thing that has not been fixed yet, and I hope to see it is fixed in the future. Another thing that's very important is Rubik. When he steals the jump ability from Monkey King, he can actually jump on trees. But the thing is that he doesn't give the same vision that Monkey King does. When Monkey King jumps on a tree, he can't be seen when you go underneath the bottom part of the tree. But the thing is, with Rubik, for some reason, you can actually see him, whether his model's bigger or something that they didn't calculate into it with all of his skins or something. He is actually seen from the low ground. Interesting interaction, something that you may want to look out for. Obviously, the pros haven't been able to do it because Monkey King is in captain's mode, so it's probably something low on their priority list. So it's probably something that you should look out for into your future games and try to remember if you are picking Rubik versus a Monkey King that you can be seen and you really need to use that to your advantage on the stylized of okay, this is not as good as Monkey King. I shouldn't play exactly like how Monkey King goes. Also, Techie's mines are not seen in Fountain. I thought that this was a really funny bug. It sucks at the same time though, because I don't like it when we have these. Obviously, people are using freaking Heart of Tarask to tank up on one guy and then just sit there and farm Fountain. I've seen it in a couple of games now. It's really annoying whenever you have a 5 stack and you're trying to face, just try to play a game, then they just farm Fountain and you're just sitting there for 30 minutes dying over and over because they've pushed 1 racks and they're like super farmed up and you just played the game all wrong. So it's very sucky when things like that happen, and having mines just constantly in there to blow people up and constantly farm off of them sucks. Thing is though, I do really like the concept of maybe a techies going in whenever there's a tech not a techies a tinker. If you had a tinker on the other team and you mine up and you can like blink into the trees on the side and then mine up the base so that when he teleports back to base and are able to blow him up from there, that could be a really interesting strategy, a lot of fun in general. And his actual proximity mines don't affect that either. So you can actually smoke in the fountain or like near the fountain and kind of blink up to get into that area And if you can blink up with the smoke in that situation and then lay down your proximity mines, they actually work as well. So it's a lot of fun, and I do like to see that cheekiness come out from techies, because really techies is annoying when you're not playing the cheeky way. I think I think that's what everyone wants to do. They want to have fun with the hero, and I can see why people hate him. And I personally hate him when what he used to be, but now it's more of a fun type of feel to it. So I'm interested to see what you guys come up with on strategies on that. And if you guys have anything, make sure you send me a message or tell me in the comments about it. It should be a lot of fun. So lastly, I want to talk about my flub question. I do it every week. It's something I really enjoy. So Tim once again has sent a bunch of questions. So if anyone ever wants to send anything else in, I just am going through the list that Tim has sent me because I think they're really fun questions. He asks 1v1 laning. He's asking about generally mid. How is it important? He says, I know last hitting is important, but sometimes harassing the opposing mid laner is more important. How do you know when you can lose out on last hits to harass the enemy? And is denying a creep worth it at the expense of a last hit? Tim, this is the thing that I have found with mid, and there's a lot of guides on it in general. There's some really good ones out there. I think the one I used was like, it was like Chwak or Chalk, something like that. It was like CHAQ or something. And there's a lot of other people's thoughts on this, but this is what mine is. If you're going to if you're gonna be mid, a lot of times the heroes that are there, it's important. The most important thing is to get farm, because a lot of times you're a carry type player and you are a core, so you're guaranteeing that farm for you by being that two role. The one is obviously needing to get the most last hits overall, but the thing is if you can contest the farm and guarantee that you get the same farm on most heroes, then you're going to be in the better position, especially on heroes like Invoker, Ember Spirit, these guys that are good late game heroes. The only time that you kind of don't want to do that is when you're kind of playing like a Pudge or something. And even then, I would argue that you still want that money to be able to do something later on. So really, last hit should be your primary option, and then harassment. So it's last hits and then harassment. And if you're gonna miss a last hit for harassment, a lot of times when you're in that scenario, you're actually letting the creep wave push. And that's one of the worst things that you can have happen is let your equilibrium go out of balance. Because there's no pulling, obviously, there's no way to get that back. If they're a good mid player, they're going to keep it on the hill constantly, and you're going to get less farm out of it. So if you're going to try to push people out, then generally what I do is I am trying, like with Razor for instance, I'll steal damage, and I will steal damage to then try to push the creep wave back by denying, or if I need to, I won't like harass them in the sense of getting a bunch of attacks in. I will steal as much damage so that I get like 20 extra damage or something, and then I'll go back for the last hit to make sure that I get the last hits, and I can push back the lane by denying at a certain rate. But if you're going for last hit versus deny, last hit is always first, and then harassment. Equilibrium is, I almost like go last hit, equilibrium, harassment, and then creep denial. If you're denying the creep and letting them lose on experience, that's fantastic. Thing is though, is you need to be useful at a certain point within the mid game as a carry, and it's kind of hard to do that in like a carry type role. Not all the time are you playing a carry though. You still need to be useful. So that's kind of what you want to look out for. If you have any questions, shoot me a question again to clarify anything that I've said or anything that you want to kind of be repeated. And that kind of ends up the show, guys. So I'm going to close out real quick. If you want to help us out, you can subscribe to any of our videos or like anything. At our Twitch channel, you can find us at twitch.tv/toffees_Dota2. If you want to watch on our YouTube channel, you can go to 5 Midas Gaming. That is our channel. Also, if you're feeling extra generous, you can give to our Patreon, www.patreon.com/toffees. If you're also interested in trying to listen to us in general, just as like a normal podcast, we put all of our video podcasts, we change it into audio so you guys can listen to them in the car or on your way to work, or on your way to family members or whatever, on your way to spring break vacation. You can listen to us on Stitcher or iTunes. You can also, if you have any questions for me or Toffees in general, you can follow Toffees at Toffees TV at his Twitter handle, or you can follow me on my Twitter handle at Flubdota. And as always, if you have any questions for me and like for this show, like for the Flupdate in general, or if you just want to schedule casting gigs or things like that, send me an email, shoot me an email to crazyflub at gmail.com. Ah, yeah, at gmail.com. I thought I screwed that up. But it's been really fun, guys, and I hope that you've been updated. I really enjoyed this cast, and if you guys, hopefully you guys will join me tomorrow with the Brewmasters update. We have a new setup that we're going to be doing, and I really hope that you guys can join us there. All right, I'll catch you guys next week. Talk to you later.